Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers midweek pod with Kenny and I. Really good to be back on discussing everything tonight. We are pleased to be here. Kenny, how are you, mate? You good?
I'm fantastic, mate. Yeah, my wee mum's birthday today, so I was up seeing her. Had a cracking wee day off to myself. So, yep, good day, and looking forward to this. This will be good fun.
Yeah, it will be good fun. So we're going to run through what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about Balague's comments on Ancelotti today. Some of it was absolute nonsense, but we'll get into that. It was quite fun. We're going to have some manager chat, and there is takeover news, which we're going to discuss as well. So, well worth hanging about. Just a shout out, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athlon Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, our partners Black Rooster and Art of Gold. So that is the formalities done. I am going to also say thank you as well very much to Midfield of Dreams. They have kindly given us a couple of t-shirts which we've given away for members on YouTube. There is a members video from last night, so please check that out. Folks, if you're a member, please go and do that. David Brown has just joined the show as a member on YouTube. So welcome, David. Thank you very much for that. We have, unbelievably, Kenny, we're now well over 330 members. So absolutely incredible. We decided, folks, that we were going to start a wee bit just to discuss the Scottish Cup final for the women on Sunday. I was a bit disappointed in myself the other night. I didn't really give it the coverage it deserved, Kenny, and I'm not going to say we skirted over it as much, but I think the women didn't get the credit that they maybe deserved. It was a wonderful performance, 3 really cracking goals from Mia Macaulay and Kirsty Howitt with a double. She's been excellent, as well as being Jane Ross's final appearance. So I thought it was just worth revisiting that slightly and just to give the women a wee bit more credit and what they really deserve, because they did bounce back and put in an excellent performance. A couple of people had mentioned to me, and I really appreciate those that have done, that we skirted over a wee bit too much. So I don't mind going back into that. All feedback is welcome completely. But Kenny, the women for that performance deserve every bit of credit.
Yeah, they do. And I think that's fair. That we did kind of gloss over it slightly, didn't we? Just at the end of the show the other night. But they do deserve a huge amount of credit. They've won two trophies this season, 2 cups, just missed out in the league. And having watched most of the game, as I said to you the other night, and just recapped on the highlights again today because I knew we were going to talk about it. There was some fantastic patterns of play, some really nice goals. The first goal was an absolute cracker. I mean, what a finish that is.
Reminded me, do you know what reminded me a wee bit of? Sorry to interrupt you. Scott Wright at Hearts with his Scottish Cup final goal, the 2-0. It was the same kind of angle.
Wonderful finish, wasn't it?
Great finish, yeah.
Cracking finish. And all 3 goals were cracking goals. Carved them open. And we've got to be fair. Glasgow City are a decent side, mate, and they've turned them right over. And Joe Potter and our team deserve huge amounts of credit for that. As I say, I think me personally, I was a little bit perhaps flippant the other night when I was talking about it. But if I'm being honest, it was because I was so disappointed the week before. I had sat and watched it, and I was really quite up for it and hoping the girls would go over the line. And I was a bit deflated when they didn't. And you're absolutely correct. They deserve huge amounts of credit for bouncing back the way they did. I thought they were very, very good on the day, and they had a wee point to prove. And fair play to each and every one of them for getting themselves another winner's medal for a start, but really making that point. And let's hope that Joe Potter carries on next season, and they prioritise that league, and we get there and we do the club justice, because they've been incredibly unlucky in the last couple of years, mate, and in terms of the league position. And it's such a tight league, isn't it? There's some really decent sides in it, and the fact is that there's 4 or 5 that are really, really close together in terms of they've been packed all season. So I'm delighted that they've won another couple of trophies, mate. And as I say, that performance And the quality of finishing and the quality of goals was just fantastic. It really was.
As Paul says, Wilco involved in all 3 goals. Yeah, some excellent through balls. The passing by her was incredible, actually, for the first and for particularly the third one. The run from corner just to square it back the way she did was excellent. I spoke to our player sponsor, Catherine Hill, the other day. Caught up with Kath. Kath's about to go and do some recuperation. She's had an injury which she's carried now for months, but playing through the pain barrier. And she was terrific, absolutely terrific on Sunday. I think we missed her in the run-in, and especially against Hibs at home. And I thought she was absolutely great. So I'm glad we've come back to it, Kenny. I really think that the women deserved all the praise from Sunday, and I didn't want to gloss over that. And I'm like you, really disappointed in the week before. But to do it the way they've done it was incredible. Huge congrats. And listen, I cover the women's games quite a lot, Kenny, as you know. We deal with the manager quite a lot. We deal with the girls all the time, and they've got all the time in the world for you. If you want interviews, if you want to chat to them, they're so supportive of what you do, and really appreciate that you do that. So really pleased for them to end the way they do, or they end the way they did on Sunday, mate. So yep, delighted with that. And just to kind of sum it up, brilliant performance, excellent couple of goals, and some really good performances in there.
They should have won by more, and that's the highest praise you can give them in a cup final. That they've won it 3-0, and it could have been 6, 7, 8. They were that far in front. I know Glasgow City hit the bar at one point, but so did we. And there's been a few chances that they really should have taken. But you get that in every level of football, mate. You don't take every single chance. And on another day, as I say, they would have won that 6 or 7, no problem at all. And, when you consider that they beat Hibs 5-0 in the other cup in the final, it just shows you the potential and the ability that's there with these girls. And that's why, as I say, I wanted to point that out, about the other night, that I genuinely felt after it that I did gloss over it a little bit. I just a little bit flippant about it. And we're all just Rangers fans, mate, aren't we? And it is one of those things when you get disappointed, you show your disappointment. And I think that's what I've done the other night. And I can only apologise for that, actually, because when you stop and you consider it, if it was the men's team, the first team, we would be cock a hoop, wouldn't we, about winning the cup? So, we've got to give the girls every, every parity on that, and they deserve all the praise that they should be getting, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, so many people becoming members already tonight. I think that's 5 new members. And friend of the show, Kimberly Neal. Good evening, Kimberly. Thank you so much. Gifted 5. 4 lads had a dream Rangers podcast membership. See the response from you guys. Honestly, it's absolutely fantastic. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate all the support. Thanks as well to everybody in the comments. All the questions I'm kind of noting up, etc. Right, Kenny, let's get into this, because you and I both know that the rumour mill has been in overdrive Thursday, Friday, same as last week. Takeover, manager, etc. Let's talk Takeover. What I can say is that Takeover is now absolute endgame. We're now at the point of signing, and this is now, we're at a point of expecting news now, I think, and I'm really excited. We are really looking forward to it, and this is now, I mean, I can see you smile. I'm smiling just thinking about it now, but this is now huge for the club, isn't it? There's so much. We waited years now for something to happen like this. We've all said, I've said countless times, that this football club needs an adrenaline shot in the arm. But this new era is upon us now. It is right next door, and it is here, and it's exciting, and I can't wait for it, Kenny. I really can't. And I'm looking forward to what they're going to do, the things that they're going to do. I have ideas about what they might do, but our football club has needed this for a long, long time, and this is what we've all been asking for. And finally, we're here. So tell me about your thoughts, and I can see the smile. I feel the same way. We've been through so much, mate. We were there back in the days when Murray was there, and we wanted change then. We want change now, but not for the same reasons. I think this boardroom have genuinely done their very, very best, and it's not worked out. And I'm not going to sit here and be critical. They've made mistakes all over the place, okay? And I think that there was a really right time for this to happen. So I'm excited about it. And as I said, I think it's the right time.
It's the right time, mate. And, Dave King talked about investor fatigue a few months ago. And that fatigue is just, wrapped around the club for a long time now. And you're right. We shouldn't overly criticise anybody here. At the end, at the end of this, we'll have a new owner, or new owners, and we thank everybody that's been involved in the club since 2014, 2015 there, and we just move on, mate. And that's where I am at. The two best baldies out. Aye. But listen, for me, it's one of these things that when you first catch wind of this way back months ago, if you remember, we were excited then. And we are now at that point where, as you say, the end game is here. It is literally, right here and right now. And you know how we were talking about this before we come on. I'm excited about this because I genuinely feel it just has to happen. The mistakes that have been made over the last couple of years, let's just forget about them at this minute in time. Celebrate what we are about to witness, which is a new era for us, which has been, we've needed this, haven't we? I mean, let's not pretend, but, particularly after a season like this, Stevie, where, it's been, you could count the decent performances in one hand and the kind of nonsense start to the season, and it's just enveloped the club in a really negative way. So we can get rid of that. What do I want to see? I'll just be really interested over the next couple of weeks when this is all done and dusted and we start to get little pieces of information or whatever. I am looking forward to perhaps some kind of insight as to where we're going to go. I would imagine the manager situation will be done very quickly. From here, we're going to come on and discuss that, but we're going to get the players coming in. We've got loads to happen here, and I'm really looking forward to it. And listen, mate, can I pass you over for a wee second? My door's just went. Can I give me a sec?
Of course you can, mate. That's the joys of live shows, ladies and gentlemen. Kenny is expecting somebody at his door. I'm expecting a phone call. It is exciting times again. Siege One says, been so many false starts over the years. 100%. I think that's the issue. What we really need to have, and I keep talking about this, and I'm sorry if I'm boring people, but we really need to have a summer that we don't need to correct that summer. Every single time we have a summer, and next summer we're trying to correct those things, and that's what we have to avoid. We have to have a summer where we get it right. Not everything's going to be perfect. Say you bring in 10 players, right? And I don't think 10 are going to be spot on. That ratio doesn't normally work, but we need 8 of them to be right there. We really do. And that's the kind of turnaround we need. We don't need to be going to next summer like this summer where it's, we need to replace Proper, we need to fix Bayrami, we need to, what's happening with Cortez, etc., etc. We don't have time to do this kind of thing. So, yeah. Kenny, my phone's now going. You can take over from here.
I will do. What I want to see, mate, is I'm really interested to see what the vision for the club is going to be. I'm really looking forward to hearing from the new owners. I'm really excited about the idea that this is a new era and it is a new dawn, and it's going to be something that we really all as Rangers supporters get really, really excited about. And for me, it's a kind of scenario where I look at it and I feel that, as I've said, we need this, Stevie. We do. We all do as a fan base. And the fact that we can kind of break this slightly and say that we know it's at the end game now is brilliant for us. Listen, it's not. It wasn't an Avon order. It was something the size of my house. I've no idea what Tracy's bought, but it was enormous. But it's just such an. You know me, mate, and I've been so excited about this. I just without being critical here, I'd had my fill of what had been going on over the last couple of years, and I really wanted change. And the fact that we've got such a, how would you put this, influential and powerful kind of owners now that can really genuinely make a massive difference to our football club. And I'm pretty certain that as a fan base, to a man, to woman and child, we will all get right on board with this. And that's my kind of take on this. That I'm, as I said already, mate, I'm looking forward to seeing what the idea with the manager is. You know, we've read Guillem Balague's article today. That's interesting. You know, what their plans in general are, what their vision for our football club is, because I am absolutely certain, Stevie, that they are not coming here to play second fiddle to anybody. That's I'm certain of that. They are not here to do that, and they must see a potential in us that, if you consider how wealthy and, as I say, sporting wise influential the 49ers are, they could have handpicked any club just about anywhere in the world, mate, and they've came to us. So that's why I'm so excited, and I know you're excited as well, but that's kind of my reasons for it. I really do want to see or hear, you know, what they see for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think for a very long time, I've asked for leaders in the football club that can be, that believe in us again, that believe we can get back to being number one, that believe they can take this club exactly where it should be, that believe in Rangers. We need an infrastructure that doesn't fall apart. We cannot be in a position where a chairman leaves and you're months without one. You cannot be in a situation where the CEO leaves and you're months and months without them. This needs to be a football club that around the football club behaves like we should be behaving, which is a big club. When we say things are getting done, they get done. You know, the stuff with the Copeland Road, the stuff with Edmondson House, the stuff with the Blue Sky, everything all overdue and overrun. I understand things can happen, but I want stability in our football club. I want leadership and financially to be back the way that we should be. So all of that, I think, now is a very real possibility, and I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. I've been waiting for this for a long time now, and to have that drive and ambition to make Rangers great again, as the saying goes, as bad as that is, that saying, that's what it's all about. Our football club has been dormant now for years and years, and it needs to rise again, and we need people behind it that's ready to drive us on, and that's it. You know, that's the bit we're at, Kenny. We need that again.
Mate, the reason we have been failing over and over again over the last 10 years is pretty much due to a lack of an infrastructure, and that's the first thing they have to correct. They'll have had their heads well under the bonnet over the last few months, looking at everything, seeing where we're going wrong, where they can improve us, where perhaps we're doing right, and improve on these things. And it is structurally, we are broken, and there is no getting away from that. As a football club the size of ours, we shouldn't be this fundamentally broken. And when you consider, as you know, and just to relate this to football slightly, when you've dropped points in 16 of your 38 league games, there's something not right. And on a fundamental level, you know, it's nearly half your game, Stevie, that you've dropped points in. That's just not acceptable for a club that should be challenging for honours, all the honours in Scotland every single season. But with the financial advantage that we have over the rest of the country out with one club, to drop that amount of points in that amount of games is just it shows you we're not right, and that's where I hope, and I don't even hope, I'm pretty certain of it. That's the great thing about it, is that I am pretty certain they're going to come in and quite literally go, well, that won't happen again. We need to get that right. And as I say, for me, more than anything else, this is an incredibly massive company that is taking us over, and they're not here to sit and arse about, mate. They are here to win things. They want that Champions League. They want that prestige. They want the idea that, you know, their sponsors are going to be associated with the Europe's premier competition. All these kind of things that will, over the period, are going to help us massively, mate. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And I'm on a slightly different note on this. I heard you this morning, and you know, talking on the review and saying that, you know, it's got to speed up, because we're not far away from, you know, is it 3.5 weeks away or something like that for pre-season already? So, you know, I'm just relieved, ecstatic, delighted, all these things, mate, that this is just about done.
Yeah, as I said at the top of the show, it is now Endgame, which is really exciting for everyone. And we're going to find out very soon. A couple of people asking, how do you become a member of our YouTube? I'll put the link up for our YouTube page, and then you simply just click on the membership button next to subscribe, I believe it is, and that's how you do it. So, yeah, Kenny, I don't know much more to say about the takeover. I mean, listen, I've been home and away supporting Rangers for 30 years, and last season I felt like at times there wasn't any hope. There wasn't. I mean, how are you going to revitalise this team? How are you going to revitalise this club? And the more it went on, and you know, John Gilligan came in and got a hell of a lot of stick when he was a friend of the football club, doing them a favour, and has turned out to do an excellent job in the months he was there. John Gilligan's a Rangers fan like you and I, but it got to the stage where they basically had to ask a friend to come and be the chairman, and that can never happen again for our football club. And that's the kind of standards that I don't ever want to see slipped again. And that's not a criticism of John Gilligan, but it's a criticism of the circumstances. We can't have, you know, a year without a CEO. We can't have chairman, and this is stuff that is so basic. You know, we need a new medical department in this summer, and these are things that we need to make sure it's still planned and come naturally, and we behave like a big club. So X is leaving, Y's ready straight away, straight in. None of this the way it's been, which has been disappointing. We need proper guys ready to lead us, make that drive for the Champions League, make that drive for titles, make that drive for cups. We're not going to win every single one, right? But we have to be in the mix, and we currently aren't, and that can't happen. We can't finish 20 points behind and everything else. So this is, for me, really exciting. And it's what about we do next? You know, it is what, 26 days, excuse me, until the boys are back for pre-season. So, you know what I mean? Excellent in terms of having to get everything ready, which we need to do. But there's signings to be done. There's things to be done. And a little more, Kenny, we need a manager, and we need one pronto. And I can't help but think maybe, just maybe, Takeover first, manager might come in that order. and that'll give you a sense of where I think it is in terms of timing and stuff like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's maybe the way they're wanting to do it in the coming days. But we need management, absolutely need a manager in there, and that brings us to the next topic. I think Guillem Balague, is that how you pronounce it? It wouldn't be a show.
Balague.
It wouldn't be a show if I didn't butcher somebody's name. But we've taken a. Let's talk first of all, because everybody's in the comments about. Thank you, Douglas Geddes, for becoming a YouTube member. We really, really appreciate that. The support, as I said, is incredible for the show. Modric is a nonsense. He basically put in his article, Modric hasn't said no when spoken about Rangers, but he was trying to make out that's Ancelotti's level of pool. And he's already been on social media saying Modric isn't going to Rangers. The funniest thing about this afternoon has been the comments on social media, people saying Modric is too old to come here and stuff like that. Absolutely hilarious. Saw a couple of funny ones about how would Modric gets on when Tab tells him he's taking the free kicks and the corners and things like that. So let's be real. If Modric came in here, he would absolutely stroll it, wouldn't he, about that park, an absolute Rolls Royce. Rumours as well, Modric had Dado Perso pyjamas, so maybe he does fancy a wee trip to Govan. But Kenny, it loses all kind of credibility when you come out with stuff like that, and then 10 minutes later you're on your social media saying, no, I didn't mean that, this is what I meant. Come on.
He doesn't know Scotland and the rumour mill, though. I think that's part of his problem. He's probably he'll probably tell you it's been lost in translation slightly or something like that. And listen, make no mistake. I think I said to you, I thought Luka Modric was 97 years old and he'd still stroll it up here, mate. He would absolutely walk this league, because that is quite literally one of the greatest midfielders of all time. He's a 6-time Champions League winner, for goodness sake. You know, I don't care if he's 39, 49 or 59, he would stroll it up here. And I mean it. He would actually stroll it. But the article itself is actually really interesting, because it gave me an insight. Strangely, and this might sound a bit odd because it came from a kind of Spanish journalist, but also with the kind of premier Spanish journalist, English-speaking Spanish journalist there is, and it gave me that insight into how highly regarded he is in Spain by the Real Madrid players for a start. And I think that's what he was trying to allude to. And as I say, you know, Rangers Twitter or Old Firm Twitter just batters right through that, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh my God, I've started a." I've started a story which I didn't really want to do, and this is what I would take from it, mate. Right, that some of the really intriguing stuff that I took from it, which I know we're going to discuss, but it made me even. I'll rephrase that. It swayed me even more towards Ancelotti, and I have a funny feeling it is going to be Ancelotti now, because of the stories that we're hearing, that, you know, even from his dad and stuff like that, you know, from the Don, he's turning around and saying he's talking to a European club and all these kind of things. So I'm actually really excited about it now, mate. I don't know how you feel, but I'm just at that point where, having read the article, as I say, I've kind of went, do you know what? It gave me a little bit of a reassurance. And I know somebody's saying that where can you find the article? I think it's on the BBC website, isn't it? And that's where you can read it, because I thought it was a cracking read, got to say, mate.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the things that he said in it. He said Managerial is basically he's held discussions and more were planned towards the end of the week. Davide himself believes to be the club's first choice. Patrick Stewart, Andrew Kavanagh, the 49ers, Kevin Thirlwell, all included in the negotiations. That's not completely true. If the deal isn't sealed by next week, Rangers might miss out on Ancelotti. I don't see that really being an issue. Kenny, let's talk a wee bit about this, because I've said to people, I'm on the fence with it, very much so. And the reason I say that is because I remember saying that I wanted Gio and I wanted Michael Beale, and then when these things didn't work out, people thought, "But you wanted these guys," and I think it's I think it's difficult when you're in this position because you want to say what your opinion is, but sometimes you're not really allowed to give it. My own opinion is this: I think that when we first came into it, the names mentioned, you were thinking a wee bit about, well, where's the one that's really going to get you excited? And you spoke about Steven Gerrard, and I understand it. Like Steven would have been or could be if he comes back or whatever. The way he done it before and knowing the club, etc., then you can understand that. So I would have been fine. But it's a little bit like we've tried that already, and it wasn't magnificent. And I think he deserves more credit than he gets. But that's kind of where I was with it. Then we spoke about Russell Martin, and Russell Martin doesn't do it for me in the slightest. Cheryl said it's because he's got beautiful hair. I think it's more because I just think his style is very one-dimensional, and I'm not sure if it would work here because I've seen a lot of possession football. Gio was very good at it, but it became a horseshoe. I think Clement at times, his style at the start was really good, and we could see, but it very quickly became the same thing. Michael Beale never really got them going either. And these are all people that, these styles you were hopeful for. And I think that my biggest issue with Russell Martin is that. And that's just a personal choice. I just don't think that would work here. And that's what I'm really worried about. Now, if Russell Martin turned up at Rangers and became the new manager, then I would back him 100% and I would get on board with that. But that's my biggest concern. And here's why Davide Ancelotti really excites me, Kenny. And I agree with Bluebells. Can we just call him David? Christ, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it properly. I really like him because it's exciting. It's something new. And I think that he'll have the reach from his dad from Real Madrid that maybe players would be excited to come and work with him. And I think that he could be, it's exciting because it's new. Now, listen, Russell Martin has way more experience. Steven Gerrard has way more experience. Davide Ancelotti, as we're going to call him from now on, doesn't. He's never managed a proper football team once. But the way he's spoken about, the way that players speak about him, the way that he's held in regard at Madrid, Kenny, that excites me, and I'm all right with that. I'm all right with saying that. And if he was to come, I know it's a massive gamble, massive, massive gamble. However, it's one that I think shows an excitement and a signal of intent from the new owners that we're aiming for this kind of young, exciting, vibrant football team, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for attacking football. I'm looking for pacey attacking. I've missed guys that can run, right? Guys that can be fast. And I was going on about this on Rangers Review this morning, and I won't bore people again with it. But we don't have those players in our squad, and we need an evolution of how this squad works. And sometimes in football, it just takes that one thing, and it you can maybe get 3 or 4 right players in there, and it all comes together. I think we need more than that. I'm on record as saying I think we need 8 starters, and I don't think that's a stretch in imagination. That all won't happen at once. Excuse me. You might get 4, you might get 6, you might get some squad players with it. But Kenny, this is why Ancelotti excites me, and I've sat in the fence for a while, but I don't mind saying it now. I was really keen on Gerrard when it first came about. I don't mind saying that to anyone. I was really in my head. I was like, that makes a sense. I understand it, but I've been romanticized, I think, if that's even a word, by the idea of Ancelotti, and that's where I am with it.
Yeah, and I'm kind of very much in the same camp as you were. Initially, when the kind of rumour mill started and it was Steven Gerrard, it was the hot favourite, as it were, by the bookies. I was like, I'm not too against that. I quite like that idea because, strangely, and I'm sure I've mentioned it on here before, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but I just felt that Steven Gerrard would be a kind of safe pair of hands, someone that knew the league, knew the club, knew the people behind the scenes at the club, and would be more than capable of. I think an awful lot of what happens in Scottish football that maybe perhaps a lot of fans or people don't take into account, mate, is that see when you go away from home, it's alien to a lot of people. It is really alien to people that you'll go and you'll play, if we're talking, say, a Ross County or a Livingston or a St Johnstone, and you go there and there's 10 men behind the ball. They're playing a low block at home, and you're playing a low block literally 80% of the season. And it's up to you to figure a way around that. And Gerrard had that thing where in the first season, if you always say this, if you remember, in the first season, he had almost like two wingers. And by the time he won the league, he was playing with two number 10s in behind the number 9 almost. That they would come in and out. So that was my kind of take on Gerrard. Everybody else that I've heard, from Marco Rosa to Russell Martin to Danny Rule to can't even remember who else has been hinted at, mate, but I've not overly got on board with any of them until Ancelotti appeared almost out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago. And Davey, as we're going to call him, he kind of ticks a lot of boxes when you actually look at it. And I've seen, I got a bit of stick on the comments a week or two ago talking about him, where I said that the new owners are showing a huge amount of ambition by going for someone like that. And people were saying he's an assistant, he's never managed before. How can you possibly say that's ambitious? Look where he's coached. Look at the players this man has coached. Now, I understand he's going to come down a level from, or a couple of levels from Real Madrid, don't get me wrong. But if you've been the first team coach at Real Madrid and at Bayern Munich and at Napoli, that look at the quality of player you have, and look at the fact that all these guys have been in these squads, have got a massive amount of respect for this guy, that appreciate the job that he does. And for me, when you look at it and you say he's 35, that's young, right? It's nowhere near as young as Graham Souness when he took over, and he did quite well. Walter had never been a manager. Steven Gerrard had never been a manager. We could talk about these things, and I just personally feel that when you actually stop and consider everything, the pulling power that an Ancelotti is going to have, mate, he's going to be well respected in Spain, Germany, Italy, and everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. It's just one of these things that I just. Listen, I'm going to put my neck out here and say it. I actually now hope it is him, because having read that and the kind of appreciation that people, and I said this before, mate, that I think we've got a slight, and I'm talking about me, more than anything else. I've got a slight ignorance of European football, where I watch leagues and stuff like that, but I don't get involved in the who does this and who does that. And so, having done the digging on Ancelotti, I am really quite looking forward to that, if that's who it is, because it excites me. It excites me more than anybody else does.
Yeah, I think that's it with me. I think exciting is where I am with it. And look, it's changed my opinion, I think, a wee bit, because I always said that. I think we need to go experience. We need to go a really safe pair of hands. And I'm just giving you honest opinion, is that since I've first linked with Ancelotti, I've really came to kind of like the idea. So I respect, there's lots of comments saying it would be a crazy appointment and he's got no experience, and he absolutely accept all of that. But I think when you ask us to be honest and give opinion and what we think, then you have it. It doesn't mean it's right. It's not giving you inside knowledge or anything like that. I think we're just saying that you know, when it comes to manager choices, he's the one that excites us a lot. So yeah, I mean, I think that's where we are with that one, Kenny. So,
Stevie, that's what I would say. If you look back maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were talking and we both said this on this show on a Wednesday night, that we felt that a figurehead manager was the way to go. But when you start to realise that that is not the way the club is going to take this, you start to kind of try and figure out why, what their vision is, and that's why when if they're not going down the line of, say for talking sake, going for his dad as a figurehead, then if they are going to go down the first team coach way, there's not many better first team coaches on earth than the Real Madrid first team coach. That's kind of where and I might be talking myself into this, because if we all know that, you and I both know this, mate, it's a massive, massive risk. We understand that, but at the same time, and again, I've seen the kind of hints and equivalence to Michael Beale, and with all respect to Michael Beale, is a different level entirely, and I don't mean that to be disparaging towards Michael Beale. This is the Real Madrid first team coach. It's the guy that's been the Bayern Munich first team coach, as I said. This guy is very experienced with the very, very highest level, but he's never been a manager. But he's not here to be a manager. He's going to be a first team coach, head coach.
yeah, and I think the thing is as well, we're talking about the list of people that we know is interested, or we know that we're speaking to, or being rumoured to being heavily linked. You're not asking Kenny and I who our number one choice is, because we're talking about who is potentially going to get the job and who excites you the most out of that list. And Ancelotti Jr. is where I am with it. Kenny, we've been on for 42 minutes. You know what I'm really looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the European Conference League final tonight. Really rooting for Chelsea. I said this morning, I've always kind of followed Chelsea as my English interest since Vialli almost went to Rangers. I have a soft spot for them. So I'm looking forward to that tonight. I said on the other evening, if you remember when we were on, that I was really excited about the playoff second leg between Ross County and Livy, and that turned out to be an absolute beauty of a game. So I'm hoping for similar tonight.
That was a cracking game. Yeah, you'd have missed the first goal because you would have been sitting sorting out the audios and stuff like that. I had turned off and set up and turned off and dismantled the setup even, and the Ross County were a goal up, and then a horror mistake for young Stephen Kelly, wasn't it? But what a comeback for Liverpool! It was a cracking game of football to watch, actually. And I haven't watched a couple of the playoffs in England. That was by far the best one that I've watched. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. I think that'll be a good game. I fancy Chelsea. Interesting that when you look at us, with Real Betis not that long ago, beat them home and away, mate, and there they are in a European final. So it just shows you it doesn't take much to turn things around, and that's where I'm at with Rangers at this minute in time. That a brave new dawn for us, and I'm quite excited about it. But looking forward to tonight because I'm going to have a couple of beers, nothing too mad. I'll have a couple of beers and watch it, and yeah, I fancy Chelsea.
Certainly hope so. Christopher, you are a member. That little symbol next to your name means you're a member. We really appreciate the support. I had a lot of nice emails as well. For new members, there is things available, only available for members. You have interviews with Bob Malcolm, Stephen Smith, and Stephen Naismith, which is an in-depth interview. We wanted to bring you something that was different, something that was a bit edgy, something that would divide opinion. It certainly has. A lot of people have given their opinion on that, so please go and check it out. I'm going to let people decide. A lot of people have contacted me about it, which I love. I love the feedback about it. We're going to continue to try and do those interviews. I have a few in mind, and it's just a case of trying to put that into practice, which hopefully we can do. So there is a members video from last night, so please do check that out. A couple of questions, or a couple of it's been mostly opinion on things tonight. Not really had many questions, but Paul asked way back at the start of Stardust, do you think we should be looking at some free transfers with some Scottish players and buy 5 or 6 quality first team starters? That's where I am. I've spoken about this before, Kenny. I think, right, and here's, I'll repeat myself, and I'm sorry if you heard me this morning on Rangers Review. There's Aberdeen bringing in the boy, the number 20, on Saturday, Sheldon. I can't remember the boy's name, and he made the difference. Fast, pacey, really direct, and picked up from them, I think, on a free. And I'm not saying he's a world beater, but we don't have any guys that can affect the squad. And I think that's, we have to build a first team and a squad. And it might be that even you take lesser guys that can make an absolute difference in those moments, like he did on Saturday. Now, he's not a world beater. He done well against us at times because he's got raw pace. And we need to be really sensible and pick up some good freebies as well as investing heavily. I mean, we need, let's be honest. There it is, Shaden Morris. Thank you, mate. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's the kind of thing that we need to do, Kenny. And I'm really keen on that. We, as I was about to say, we need every position. We need a right back. We need a left back. We need Sales in there. We need 2 centre backs, a goalkeeper, most possibly. We need a couple of midfielders, wingers in abundance, and we might need a striker. So there's a lot of work to be done here, but we need to be smart. I would not mind spending big on the spine of the team and then collecting some good squad players that can make a difference. I'm not suggesting he's the answer. That wasn't the comparison, but the comparison was that a club like Aberdeen could bring on somebody like that they picked up for free and make him make the absolute difference in the game by being pacey, direct, and attacking and exciting. We don't have anybody like that, and I'd really like to see that's the kind of squad players and things of gambles that we should maybe pick up. And I'm sure, depending on who comes in as manager, they'll have a few of them in mind, hopefully.
Yeah, you absolutely will. And, you know, you're talking about, even just when you were talking there about the boy Shaden Morris, the perfect example of somebody that we had that was a squad player that we didn't replace when he left is somebody like Fashion Sakala, who had that pace. Now, was he the answer? No, absolutely not. But he made a difference. You know, he was getting 15, 20 goals a season from kind of almost out wide because we had Morellison playing in there and stuff like that at the time. And that these players are out there. Players with huge pace in Scotland are hard to come by. That's the only issue I have. You know, when you're looking at Scottish players, I think we are missing a number of things in that squad. Pardon me, that we've discussed already over at length, but no physicality, no pace, a lack of a cutting edge. You know, we don't score enough goals. We're not ruthless enough at the back. All these things need to be addressed. I want 2 solid, no nonsense, 6.5 foot centre halves who are just going to clear the ball. They've obviously clearly got to be able to play football. You want to play European football, but I want them to be defenders first and foremost, instead of going down this route of, you know, a Ben Davis or a Robin Proper, who are clearly football players that can play centre half, but they're just something lacking. And I find it really odd with Ben Davis that, you know, something that I was talking to my son about the other day, that you look at Ben Davis and people have said that he wasn't physical enough for our league. I go and watch League One in England. It's as physical as hell, and he's done all right down there. And I can't figure it out. And I've just got got to the point where my feeling is that a lot of these guys just can't handle the pressure of playing for Rangers, and that's where the personality, the characteristics that you need are equally as important as that piece of physicality. And that's what I'm talking about. That's why I'm so excited about the takeover. When we need this all addressed, you know, we discussed Neil Coppin the other night, and you know, is he the answer? Is he the guy that we want leading the recruitment? Is there going to be people there helping and stuff like that. And that's the kind of infrastructurally the situation that I find ourselves in, that we need to get this absolutely right, because the recruitment this season or this summer is going to be so vital, mate. We've got, what is it, 7 weeks, something like that, 6 or 7 weeks to a Champions League qualifier. We've got a situation where we really do need to hit the ground running, and that's why tonight I'm really excited about it. The news is that we're not far away from major developments now, and I'm kind of buzzing for it, and I'm genuinely really excited, and that's where with players, yeah, we need too many to think about actually, but you can't do it all in one window, Stevie. We do know that, but if we could do it all in one window, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
It certainly would be. Jim Sloan makes a comment, and thanks for the donation to the show. We really appreciate that. If the new manager listens to his dad, we should be okay, lads. Well, if it is Davide Ancelotti, as we've called him here on this show, then he should be doing all right. And we really appreciate, again, like every single show, Bluebells are blue, gifted on our 5 memberships. That's him and Kimberly tonight that have really kindly donated these things. So really appreciate it. There's 6,000 people watching, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. If you can like and subscribe on YouTube, we really appreciate that. You're teasing us. What is the timescale you have heard? I told you, it's end game stages. So that's at the point we're at. I'm not going to say to you timescales days, because sometimes these things can get held up. I can assure you I'm not teasing. So I am very, very happy and comfortable where we are with it. I said at the top of the show, and I said it's at the end game now when it comes to the takeover. So that is not teasing in the slightest, and it's not meant to be. I said that I would share news if and when I got it, and I will. And that's what I'm sharing with you. So, Kenny, I think we've been on long enough. Over 50 minutes on the show, over 6,000 people watching. Incredible amount of support from the members. I really appreciate you being on, Kenny. I much appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me on, Stevie. Thoroughly enjoys these wee Wednesday shows. They're good fun, and good news today. And let's just hope everything goes swimmingly for over the next few days, and it's all done and dusted, and we can look to, as I say, a new era and something that we can look at and say, thanks to the guys that have been here for the number of years, and let's move on and see what the new owners have got for us. And I'm really quite excited about it, mate. I really am. Probably noticed.
Yeah, I think we both are, absolutely. As I said, let's round up. Somebody said to me, I'm not good at rounding up, so I'm going to try and be a lot better tonight. Thanks to everybody that's watched the show. Thanks to our podcast members on YouTube. Well over 300 odd, and we absolutely love that support. Very thankful of that. There is members things you can go and get, as we spoke about on the show. You can get interviews with Stephen Smith, Bob Malcolm, talking about Helicopter Sunday, as well as an in-depth meeting with interview with Stephen Naismith. So please go and check them out. Really appreciate all your support. Thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning. That is us. We will be back with you at the start of this week, but please keep an eye on all our socials, because if news breaks, then we will be back whenever that does. And I've just spoke to Kenny tonight, and we're on standby, Kenny. I think that's fair to say. So really enjoyed everybody being on. Kenny, thanks again, mate. Really appreciated it.
No, thanks, and thanks to everybody watching and listening, and all the members. It's been very humbling and amazing. We're sitting here with nearly 6,600 people watching this, mate. It's nuts. Yeah,
it certainly is. Thank you, everybody that is tuning in. Really appreciate that. McKillian Loyal, right at the death, has just been become a member. We really appreciate all your support. If you can please like and subscribe. We're well over 7,000 subs now on YouTube, which is incredible. We really appreciate that. I'm off to enjoy the Conference League final. Feeling a lot better, that's for sure. Thank you, folks. See you again soon.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.